They bastards again. They're doing me again. So I just had a visit from the police, and it wasn't a good visit. Honestly, the only time really I expect the police to come to my door is regarding my CCTV. However, they immediately came in, I sat them down, and they said, "We believe you have intention to fly your drone." And I went, "What? What? I've got a drone, but how is this all came to hand? Like, why do you think I have intention to fly it? Of course I'm going to fly it. I mean, when do you think I'm going to fly it? I don't know. Explain to me." So they start speaking to me, and they're like, "We've been told by someone, the chief inspector has called the sergeant, and the sergeant has called them to come here, and they gave me this, right?" So they gave me this, and I looked at it, and I went, "Edinburgh Tattoo," and I went, "They bastards again. They're doing me again. They sued me last year, and they're trying to screw me over again this year." However, it isn't what it seems. So what happened yesterday, I contacted a guy from Drone Assist. There was a flight plan put in for Drone Assist. Now, if anybody doesn't know what's happening this year at the Edinburgh Military Tattoo, there is a drone show. Now, they've been keeping it a secret, but I've just let the cat out the bag. There's 100 drones going up at this year's Edinburgh Fringe to take place during the Edinburgh Tattoo, right? And the map is being put up by the company, right? Starting on the 25th of July, all the way up to the 24th. Now, how we look here, that is the circle. Now, it is blue. Now, blue means it's not enforced yet. But if that goes red, it means I cannot fly in a red zone. I can fly around it, so around here, but I can't fly in that zone if it's red. So like an airport, something like that. So I can fly up outside it and get pictures of the castle above, but I cannot fly in if it was a red zone. However, it's not going a red zone, it's going an advisory, which means that every pilot can fly in, hence my 249 gram DJI drone. I can still take that in, not a problem whatsoever. However, it's up to me as a pilot to determine the safety of that, right? And usually you would work with the company who's providing that service to find out what height they're going, where they're taking off from, where the drones are going to be situated, you know what I mean? But they don't want to work with me. They don't want to mention anything, and because of confidentiality. I spoke to the Civil Aviation Authority just now, and they said they should be telling you the basic information. He said he's going to have a word with them. I don't know how much that conversation is going to go. He can't set the rules. The guy who's taking the company, the drones, the 100 drones, he can't set the airspace rules. He can only put in on an advisory on the Drone Assist app, on the Civil Aviation website, that a flight is planned for here. This is what's happening. And it's an advisory, so it means you can still fly in. However, a flight restriction, and this is what this is, flight restriction will take place on the 31st of July. The tattoo starts on the 1st of August for the first show, and that means there'll be a restriction around the castle like last year, which you cannot fly in. You can fly around, but you can't fly in. Now, I've just received that off the guy just now. The guy's actually sent me a nice email. So you can see here, right? They got the castle in the middle, right? And you got the restriction. That's going to go up on the website, on the Drone Assist app. So you cannot fly in that zone without prior permission. You can still get permission, but you won't get it, right? So that is a safety area. So during the tattoo, even outside daytimes, you can't fly over the castle. So if you're visiting Edinburgh, do not fly over Edinburgh Castle after the 31st at 3 o'clock, okay? Because that's when the restrictions come into place. But yeah, I phoned that guy back. So I phoned the company guy with the drones, and this is what happened.
I've not reported anything to the police directly. However, I have had to notify to the authority. Basically, what we're doing is linked through Police Scotland. Mm-hmm. So every inquiry that I get through the NOTAM has to be notified through to them as part of what we're doing. Mm-hmm. So that might be it. But I've not reported anything officially.
Did you give them my number?
No. I have to, yes. Because that's part of what I have to do.
So they were sent here by the chief constable, who contacted the sergeant to come and visit me to find out what my intentions were regarding my drone going up on during the tattoo. Now, I don't know if I made it clear yesterday or is it the day before I spoke to you. I do not intend to fly into the red zone. However, I've already told them that my drone will be going up outside the exclusion zone and zooming in to try and capture some shots of the drone show or pictures I can take from above. But that doesn't mean I'll be able to fly in. Now, I have a DJI Mini 4 Pro and everything is logged in that. You know yourself that these drones know where you're flying, they know where you take off.
That's all fine. Like I said, anything that goes inside our NOTAM circle, I have to notify to the police because it is a potential safety risk to us. That's all it is. So any flight that goes on inside our NOTAM is a potential risk of collision with our swarm. So therefore, anything that goes up in NOTAM, I have to notify to the police. I have no choice. So that's why it's been notified. Yeah. It's like I said to you yesterday, if you want to fly in our NOTAM circle, just understand that there is a risk of collision with our swarm, and therefore it's not advised. That's the safety advice, is to not fly in our NOTAM circle.
Yeah. So I would never be flying in a red zone without permission anyway, even at an airport.
The flight restriction zone is not the same as our NOTAM circle. The NOTAM is a different flight. It's not a flight restriction, it's a flight advisory. And obviously flying in a flight advisory is not safe because you can't guarantee avoiding a collision. That's why we put up a NOTAM, because it's an unusual flight activity.
Is that zone going red, or is that going to be yellow?
So NOTAMs don't go red, they stay yellow. They're noticed an advisory. However, it's a strong advisory for safety not to fly in that area for safety.
Right, but
if you cause a collision between your drone and our swarm, or vice versa, if our swarm drone hit your drone, you've then got the risk of 2 or 3 drones falling out of the sky and hitting the uninvolved people. That's why we put in the NOTAM, because it's a risk of collision. So advisory, very strong advisory not to enter that area.
There's other areas that are advisory not to fly, or a risk of this or risk of that. There's always a risk at something. But ultimately, if it's not a red zone, then technically I can fly within that exclusion area. I can't fly over the castle because that would be classified as a crowded place. However, it's up to me as a drone pilot.
It is up to you. Just understand that if you cause a collision because of ignoring safety, then in court you'd have a very strong case against you. It'd be very hard to defend a safety case if you've ignored the safety advisory from the people who placed it.
Listen.
So, at the end of the day, I'm not telling you cannot fly in our NOTAM.
Right.
You cannot fly in the flight restriction zone. That is a lawful thing. That's the flight restriction zone. That starts on, I think, the 31st.
Yeah.
Cannot fly in that. Our NOTAM, yes, you can fly in that area. However, it is strongly advised not to. And if you cause a collision, just understand that if you end up in court, you'll be very hard pushed to defend yourself because you will have ignored the safety advisory. Okay.
Well, listen, I totally get it. I have no intention of flying close or flying near. I wouldn't even take it up without actually looking at the show first. I know how it works. I've been to Disney a few times to know how drone shows work. You can't even see the drones when they're up in the air, and they're quite close together, doing different patterns and doing different, obviously, designs in the air. I totally respect that thing, and they are different than just one drone, and I totally take that information on board. But
the more important thing I would say, safety-wise, is there's going to be 2 or 3 sections where the drones are completely blacked out, so you won't even be able to see them.
I know. I understand how it works, and I totally get that, sir. I totally get it. You've explained quite a lot to me. I have no intention of flying round the castle, over the castle. I will position my drone away from any swarm. And to be fair, it'll be outside the zone as much as possible. If it's not a red zone, I will make sure that, I'm happy. You've got my details, my number anyway. I'm happy to give me my insurance information. I'm covered for £2 million. Do you know what I mean? Like, realistically, I've got a DJI Mini 4 Pro. I've got it registered. The code's on the drone. So if there's any collisions, it can be identified and it'll chase back to me. Because I've got, just lastly, I know I took much of your time here, and I do thank you. I appreciate it for speaking to me. I did get a form off the police regarding the temporary flight restrictions that might be going up on the 31st of July. which is probably the first day of the Edinburgh Tattoo, the first show, which is basically a practice show. But your flight restrictions start on the 25th. I'm guessing that's time to prepare and obviously set out, obviously, the diagram of the area, the airspace. You know what I mean? Because your times are different to theirs. That's what confused me a wee bit. Yours was the 25th.
We have some limited test flights going on.
Yeah.
So to start with, we won't be putting up a full 100. We'll be putting up 1 or 2 here and there. We might put up 10 or 20.
Yeah.
It's part of our safety checks and due diligence. We've already done a test flight early this year to make sure that there's no interference.
Yeah.
So this is the first time now we have all the other sound equipment and all the other stuff that's pumping out a lot of RF interference.
You know what I mean? I only wanted to call you because I just didn't understand. When the officers came here, they had no idea regarding drones. So they were basically like saying that we've had information you intend to fly a drone. And I went, well, what are you talking about? He says, yeah. During the tattoo, I said, yeah, if it's a red zone, I won't be taking my drone in a red zone. I wouldn't put anybody in danger. I mean, I could only seek permission. And if I'm denied permission, then I don't do it. And I'm not stupid enough to fly my drone when it's, and to put a picture up online or put a video up online showing me flying over, or I wouldn't even fly over the castle during the tattoo anyway, but...
I can only assume what's happened there is Chinese whispers, where I relay my information from the direct conversation to one person, that gets passed through from the police division that we're working with, obviously, for the tattoo.
Yeah.
It has a specific division. That probably then gets relayed to a local station, that then gets relayed to a local bobby, who then probably passes it on to their, gets given to somebody else, basically. And by the time it gets to you, it's been through 6 different officers. And that's where that gets crossed up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. But like I say, until the embargo is lifted from the creative side of things, and I can't tell you what we're doing or who we are.
Okay, so can I get your name at least?
So, my name's Chris.
Chris, nice to speak to you, Chris.
I'll give you my... No worries, cheers.
Thanks for speaking to me, mate. Thank you. Bye-bye. I've been questioning everything, trying to see if I could get permission, but it was never going to happen. But he's contacted the police because I called him yesterday. So the guy who's doing the drone company has contacted the police because he has to. Anybody interested in flying a drone, he has to contact police. They've traced my number to the address. They've came and spoke to me. I told them I would never fly within the red zone. However, I will be planning to take my drone up and following the rules regarding outside that area, whatever. I'll make that judgment when it comes to it, right? I'll safely do what I need to do. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to create some amazing shots. I want to try and get some good shots that I can put on TikTok and show you guys. Now, there's a guy called Craig Duncan. He's got really, really good pictures online. That's the kind of shots that he was taking last year. How amazing are they shots? You can see the castle. He was above the castle, but away from the castle. Now, the flight restrictions were basically around that perimeter, right? And you can see here, he's following the rules. He's taking amazing shots, and he's getting, obviously, the great footage from safety of the exclusion zone. Now, there wasn't any drone shows. Now, the drone shows are going to be at the back end of the castle. I guarantee you're going to see these drone shows this year all the way to the back end of the castle. They're not going to be at the front of the castle where he is just now, but that's the kind of shots that I'm going to try and get this year. And I want to follow the rules which are permitted for my drone size, which is a DJI Mini 4 Pro, under 249 grams. So that means I've hardly got any restrictions on where I can take off and fly. The only thing I need to watch out for is not flying over crowds, and that is basically a football stadium, anything that warrants a protest that people can't move out the way. Crowds of people is fine. If they can move out the way, then it's fine. So I'm trying to follow the rules that I know, and I've got all my documentation. I've got my number on my drone, so if anything happens to the drone, it can be traced back. These drones can be tracked by flight data as well, so if I fly in that zone, they're going to know that. I wouldn't put anybody's safety at risk. I'm not that kind of person. But I did get a drone to show the world what Edinburgh has to offer, all different angles. You know what I mean? I'm taking shots that I won't be able to take from a camera. And these guys, these other drone pilots, I mean, this guy's got other drones as well. This guy's got different licenses for higher grade drones. He knows the rules better than me. You know what I mean? But I just follow the basic rules regarding my size drone and where I can take off. I can take off from public. I can even take off from right to access. So even if it's private, if it's a right to public access, then I can still take off there. But people don't. They usually take off from pavements or roads or like parks and stuff like that, because that's public at the end of the day. You know what I mean? All that is fine. You need to keep a visual line of sight. So as long as you can know where that drone is, you can see that drone up to a point. Visually, you need to keep a line of sight. So that's how the definition of drones work. Drones are a good thing if they're used correctly. I understand there's people out there who use drones to maybe entice people to go up to them and, you know what I mean, say to them they're coming over their private land, but they don't own the airspace. The airspace is owned by the Civil Aviation Authority, and that's where you wouldn't go over someone's house. But if you're going over a historic site and you know you can go over that, I do encourage people to go onto Edinburgh Castle website or go to the Drone Assist app, pay the £20. They'll give you access, right, to the castle at a suitable time in the morning before anybody comes in, and let you take your drone around the facility. They'll let you go over low as you want. You know what I mean? Like, ultimately, you'll be more in control if you book through the Drone Assist app or Altitude Angel, and you can basically work with them. So I do recommend you work with Edinburgh Castle in the near future if you are flying your drone, but it's not a legal requirement. You can take your drone at certain points over Edinburgh Castle outside the tattoo. You can fly around it, you can fly, you know what I mean, anywhere you want, as long as it's safety, as long as you've got your visual line of sight. And that's how I do my footage. If I do a different angle, I always move direction, so my base is always visualising the sight, you know what I mean? So, yeah, be respectful, as I would say to anybody. So there you go. Basically, information from the gentleman, being respectful, trying to find out why he called the police, trying to get an understanding why he had to do that, you know what I mean? And he explained quite well why he needed to do that. However, I did feel it was rushed. How did they know my address? How did they know by a number? You know what I mean? The number's not even, it's not even my contract. You know what I mean? It's the wife's contract, and you know what I mean? It's my number, but I'm not linked to the contract. So they obviously knew me. They do know me. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I've got nothing to hide. I follow all the rules, all the laws, and you know what I mean? I will follow the restrictions that do come into place. There's nothing really more I can say, but obviously be vigilant. You know what I mean? Watch what you're doing, right? There is going to be a drone show this year at Edinburgh Tattoo. If you are taking a drone up, don't go within the exclusion zone. If you see drones, don't go anywhere near them. Stay away. You know what I mean? There is a safety zone, because what will happen is they'll cancel the show, right? So that will only affect the people who have paid all that money to go to the Edinburgh Tattoo. So ultimately, you want to be respectful. You want to see the show, take your drone back and watch it, zoom up as much as you can. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'll be doing. I'll be making sure I'm within that parameter, and I will visualise the drone show. I need to make sure that when I take off, everything's safe. And it's at night as well, so sensors, you know what I mean, all the safety sensors are deactivated. So I need to be at a good height. I need to make sure that, you know what I mean, I'm not going anywhere near the castle, anywhere near this exclusion zone. Do you know what I mean? Like, realistically, thank you, Alan H, for airspace regulator. Top man, by the way. Top man, really had a nice conversation with him. I was a wee bit confused regarding the guy who owns the company to the proper airspace restrictions, and this is the ones that will be coming to force. So basically, I'll be able to take off from, it's a wee bit more this year, right? So the airspace, a wee bit more this year, but I can still take off from St Giles Cathedral and fly just up to halfway where the library is, basically, in the middle of, going up to the castle, the Royal Mile. So, and then I can take it from the gardens. The garden's going to be the main view for me. So I'm going to be able to fly my drone West Princes Street Gardens, no problem from there. It is closed, but I can take off from the Scottish National Gallery and fly in alignment with the line, the restrictions, following the restrictions, and then I can get some decent shots of the drone show. So yeah, what can I say? This has happened. I wasn't expecting the police to come to the door just because I said to one guy that I'm going to take my drone up. But what can you do? You know what I mean? I'm being respectful. You all know me, and if you don't know me, you know what I mean. Just know that I'm doing the right thing. You know what I mean. I'm not going to put anybody's lives at risk. I fly my drone all the time safely within my parameters, and yeah, it's a good thing. You know what I mean. It's a good thing that people are not allowed to make the decisions themselves, and it has to be the Civil Aviation Authority who make these decisions based on safety. They work with the police as well, so I'll contact the police. I'll speak to them and tell them my intentions, so they didn't have any calls going. I can see a drone in the air, but I'll be away from that exclusion zone. So I'll work with them, and yeah, it won't be every night. I probably won't need be doing it on the first night. It'll be like third or fourth night, trying to get some decent shots, but. There's nothing more to say, guys, but apart from that, yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. Can't believe this has happened today. Honestly, I've got so much to do, and this has happened this morning. Early this morning to go to me to bed. I had to get up anyway because I've got to visit my mother and all that. There's stuff I need to do today. But ultimately, listen, guys, stay safe. Remember, be safe. Don't fly a drone illegally. And I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.